luckily. Oh no. There we go. That's the problem. And it looks like the customer's had a little go at this himself. That's it on. I'm only getting a wee kick. Well folks, welcome back to the workshop. Today we have a Makita hammer on for repair. This is the HM1100C and she's from 2001, 23 years old. These here are a very popular machine. Used to get them on all the time for repair because everybody had one. Very reliable, popular machine. Don't get them on as often now because obviously they've been off the market a long time, but you still get them coming on the odd time. This one's on because the customer says it's getting very hot when she's running. So he says it's producing a lot of heat. I would imagine it's making a lot of heat. It's going to be the motor. Might be a burnt out motor on it. But have we look here and see. Right, I don't think the motor's actually gone. Something's gone. There's just an odd sound coming out of it. Wee bit of a spark coming from the brushes, but I don't actually think that's from a bad motor. They are getting warm. Hot brushes could be a bad motor. There's something else going on with this one. Yeah, she's just sparking there. Unless it's bearings on the armature. Pull this rear handle off first to get under here. That's just activating this switch. Just get rid of the side handle. Seems very dry or something. Bearing up in there is not gone anyway. Or at least doesn't look gone. It's not collapsed. There's an oil seal over the top, so can't tell fully. Anyway, won't this one come out? Right, something going on there. Right, don't know what to do with this one now. That armature's warm and she's obviously been burning, but I don't know if it's been burning because it's burnt out or because it's been rubbing on the field here. Definitely has been rubbing. That's because this bearing failed. That's been generating a lot of heat on its own, but then when it's rubbing against the field it's generating more. But she's not actually sparking badly. And the windings don't look burnt. test here and see. It's not actually gone. So this is actually testing the output from the armature itself. Different output from each coil. We're telling you if the coils inside have different resistances. That'll be a sign if one is burning more than the other or overheating more than the other. If that's the case, it could be on its way out or about to fail or be gone. This one all seems to be coming out the same output. So everything in here is the same. There's no one segment worse than the other. It's not testing bad. This is a great way to see if the armature's gone. To show you a failure. But if it's not actually gone and just going bad, it doesn't always show up. On its way out or nearing failure, but this mightn't show it. So for now, I'm going to say that might work. If I'm wrong, I do actually have another one in stock if he wants a bit of motor onto it, but for now we'll do a quick fix on this, see if we can get her up and running again with the same armature. First of all, we'll see if this will work. Down on here, I'm not sure if it's destroyed the housing or not. You can get another bearing, a new one. Just see if it actually drops onto the bore. If it drops in nice and free, it's too slack. This one isn't going to go on unless I get it squared up properly and push it on. So that housing might be alright. She's a wee bit blackened and burned, but it hasn't actually melted. So we might get away with this housing. We'll do the quick and easy one first. Just change this bearing. We'll get rid of that insulation washer too. Now we'll just see if I have another one of these, because that's not just an insulation washer. It is actually a little taco as well for the speed control. So I need that to get this to run properly. So, new insulating washer. I'll press on the new bearing. Now, the original bearing would have been open on this side because it's going down into a plastic housing. There would have been no rubber seal, so it can actually run a little bit freer. But there's this one actually collapsed and done damage down in here. There's little bits of debris. If I leave this open, it's going to destroy the bearing quicker, so just use a double rubber seal on this one. I'm still not 100% convinced on this housing if it's still good or not. Seems a lot better actually. Get a wee bit of grease in there just to top it up. don't think this is going to be worth any more work. Housing's damaged. Armature is questionable. And there's something slack up here in the head as well. So this will probably need a service. This thing, if I keep going with it, could end up costing an awful lot of money to actually leave it right. You have two options. You can keep going and spend the money and actually get it running like it should again, or fix the actual problem, get it up and running. As long as it's still running reasonably well, a cheap fix can sometimes be more beneficial than an expensive fix. Bearing, a wee insulation washer, a little bit of labour. It's going to cost what, 30 or 40 euro, compared to potentially 200 for actually servicing the entire thing and fixing it, changing the armature, changing the housing, changing all the bearings, service kit. It can get very expensive. So I think this one will just have to be quick and cheap fix. Nothing wrong with the original brushes, so keep them. Now, quickly just see what that actually sounds like and see what she runs like. Sounds okay and she's not sparking, that'll do. Right, there is a little bit of a sparker to that, but it's because it's actually running so fast. Taco's been replaced, but still speed control is not working, so there's a controller problem as well. See what I mean by things just keep adding up? Go changing all this, then you realise then you have a controller problem, you're onto more money again. This is going to have to be left the way it is. It's not going to be worth putting any more money into it, because it has just got too many problems. To fix everything, it's going to be too expensive. But it still runs and it still hammers. The customer can continue using it, at least for a short while longer, until it eventually packs in completely. Still running a hell of a lot smoother than what it was. That's her one HM1100C, fixed up but on her last legs. Right, Makita nut gun. This is the DTW1002 half-inch drive. These are always an interesting wee repair. Generally, they don't break too often, so normally they do come in for repair. There's something actually gone inside. They're always a wee bit interesting, which this one might be. That anvil's not moving, but luckily she's trying to start, so the motor's still attempting to go. It's just the anvil's not shifting. So this might be able to be repaired. Right, problems on here. Oh yeah, definitely. That's not coming out. This whole hammer assembly should be able to come out. Right. What year is she? 2018. She's got about 5 or 6 years of work done. Now this thing hasn't had an easy life either. First clue, see the corrosion. Reason for that, it's actually off a fishing boat. So this thing is getting constantly soaked with salt water, which she's actually not looking too bad for. Maybe they don't have this out at sea. But it sure as hell smells like it's been around fishing away. Normally they come on from a boat. The stator at least is all corroded. This ain't looking too bad. Could you come up? Yeah. Here's the corrosion now on the rotor. Right, that is well jammed in there. Put this in the vise and see if we can turn it. Right now, the whole thing's actually jammed up. I'm actually compressing the spring there. So not only is this jammed, but the whole housing's jammed as well. This is an odd one. I would imagine one of the planetary gears has failed. Some of the teeth have broken off and she's all jammed up. Or maybe that has something to do with it. She's cracked all the way down here. That has something to do with it. Looks like it's the pry bars needed. Get off. Hopefully this doesn't bust the fan. Very gently. That is well jammed on. There we go. Yeah, teeth are a little bit marked, but they're not broken. We might get away with that. That's the expensive bit. Here's the problem. Smashed teeth. So at least 2 of the gears are damaged. So they've smashed. Probably smashed the ring gear out here. That's probably broken and split maybe. Either way, this has to come off. Doesn't matter if you hit it, it's a hammer anyway. It's hardened steel, you're not going to dent it. There is the problem. One survived. pins, the gears fall out. I'll wash that one and check it. Still might not reuse it. These two, they're totally destroyed. Teeth are missing. To get rid of them, you'll have to wash this out because there's going to be gear teeth inside of this. I'll check it. I don't think I'll reuse it. I'll check it just in case it is good. And then this gear on here, it will probably be bad as well. Housing's gone. We have to replace that. Keep the O-ring. Might keep the bearing. You can see all the teeth still jammed onto this. I will wash that and see. We won't know for sure until it's clean, so we'll give that a wee wash and then see what it looks like. Right, that was in the new housing, rear housing, but it ain't cheap at €60. It comes with the bearing and actual O-rings and all as well, so one complete kit. Gear, there's a few little dents, maybe you would call it, and some of the teeth, but none of them are broken. The whole gear is not broken, so I'm going to chance keeping that, simply because I need to keep the cost down as well. And obviously we're going to need some new gears. That's the number there if you're needing them. I'm going to replace all three of them just in case. Apart from that, I think everything else should be alright. There's a little bit more wear on this gear on the rotor, but that's another 100 quid nearly to replace that. Don't want to be making this repair mad money, so I'll not bother replacing the rotor, leave it as is. At worst, it could be a little bit noisy. Hopefully it'll not be too noisy. Drop that in. C-clip holds it in. Snap that in. Put that to one side. When rebuilding these, don't make the mistake of thinking more grease, more better. These only need a little bit of grease. Enough to keep it lubricated, and that's about it. Any extra, and it's just going to come out again. These get warm whenever you're running them very hot. That grease will just liquefy. As you can see from the back of here, there ain't no seal in this thing. Doesn't matter if it comes out here, it'll keep your anvil good and lubricated. When it starts coming out back here, it's just going to make a mess of your motor. So just a touch, and that'll do. I'll put a good gob up in here. Simply to keep that anvil lubricated on the steel bush. Drop that in. On your hammer. A little bit around the top. Don't worry about this. A wee bit on here, just so that it can work its way down into the needle bearings inside the actual hammer. Pin holds them on. This washer on top holds the pin in. Again, not a lot of grease. Just want to make sure the whole thing's coated before finishing, or before it runs. All that grease will eventually work its way around, give everything a nice light coating. Don't be tempted to put any more on. That's her. One working gearbox. Just test the rotor, make sure she's turning right. Odd time, especially on little small impact drivers, screwdrivers, because there's 3 gears on it, you can sometimes mismatch them and that'll actually run off center. So just make sure she's running true. These little rubbers as well, if they wear out on you, or the actual battery terminal here becomes very slack, because this is on a separate housing from this one. The little rubbers are actually bushings to allow this to flex. If you get an awful lot of play where the battery's actually flapping around a while lot, these little rubbers could have perished. And if they do perish, they just become old, you can just replace them. That's the number there. Rubber cushion. Only costs about €2 a piece. And you only need 2 of them. Make sure we're all on. Top cover on first. And then the second half of the wee battery cover. Always liked how these Makita ones were bolted back together, and there's a screw going through the housing and the plastic. These are going through the plastic into a metal housing. A lot more secure. And that should be it. On Makita DTW1002, 1/2 inch nut gun. Not perfect, but she'll do. A wee tiny bit of a geary sound coming out of it, but for the job it's going to be doing, the boys aren't going to care. Also, I could wash this down and get rid of the old smell of her, but not much point. Let's come back to the same company, come back out in the same boat. It's going to be smelling the exact same way within a day. There's not much point in washing it down. She's fixed, she's running, and she can earn money again. That's her. Next up, we have a Bostitch concrete nail gun. This is the SBHC50FN. Very common around here. These are run by a 10-bar compressor to shoot steel nails into concrete. They're a 16 or a 15 gauge concrete nailer, or they can be used as a 16 gauge brad nailer. These things, they're a fantastic 16 gauge brad nailer, and they're also a fantastic 15 gauge concrete nailer. But once you start using them as a concrete nailer, firing into concrete, they are no longer a very good 16 gauge brad nailer. The pin starts to wear and round over. They don't take up the nails as well. They jam more often. Over time, they become quite useless for shooting 16 gauge nails. If you start using them as a concrete nailer, they're good for a concrete nailer only. But what's wrong with this one? It's a concrete nailer. So shooting steel nails into concrete. Same thing, it's always wrong with them. Broken pin. Question is, did it break halfway up and pierce the chamber? Or did it break near the tip? It's not looking too bad. There we go. She's broke down near the tip. She's come out of the run and has actually got jammed against the side. It didn't get back into the track. So in other words, she's firing like that. She's come out a bit too far because this is broken, tweaked, and she's just sitting jamming against the actual aluminium housing up here. So that's broke, needs to be replaced. And this is the last one in stock. Not cheap, €50 plus to that, just for the pin. The O-rings are always okay, unless they're very, very old. Yeah, get away with that. And that should be her. Next up we have a Dewalt core drill. Yes, it is actually a core drill. Surprising, same as the size of it. I think these can only do up to like 50mm cores or something. Don't think this one's going to be worth fixing somehow. Test and see how big a flash comes out of here. Nothing. Nearly guarantee and say this thing's burnt out. At least that is what it's sounding like. Yep. That segment there is all raised up. You can see it when you spin it. So that armature is gone. Just price this up and see if it is actually worth fixing or not. It's the D21570. Right, so to change the armature and the brushes, you're looking at about €160 to change them there. You can buy this thing some places for 300 up to about €350. But I still don't think this is going to be worth fixing somehow. All this here, dust, it's all grease in it. So imagine the grease from the gearbox. Yeah, it has actually. It's leaked out. That's all grease there too. So that's going to need a full strip and wash out because the grease is going to be leaked out. Imagine there'll be a seal gone here maybe. Probably have to top up the grease in here. If that's leaked out, it could have damaged the gears. a wee bit of play in that chuck, you see, and the spindle. But on top of that, because she's actually blown the segment out like that, that thing would have got very hot, and I'd imagine it might have overheated or melted the field too. So there could also be a field needed for this, which would put this up to about a €200 repair. Don't think I'm going to go ahead with it, not at that price anyway. Plus she's actually a 2016 machine, so she's got a fair bit of work done. Now, funnily enough, I only ever seen one of these for the first time last year. Never had them into the workshop for repair before. And then one came in one day last year, and then about an hour later, two more came in. So the one day I got 3 of these, when I never had actually seen them before. Repairs can randomly just go like that. But I've had a few instances and they always seem to have the same common problem. Which again, this one actually does. The leads, they're a big long lead going from here all the way up and around. The brushes themselves aren't all that big for a 1300 watt motor. So it's a lot of power going through a small lead, which is quite long, going into a small brush. The lead generally tends to break going onto the brush. So if you have one of these and it's not running, check your lead. Generally that's the normal repair, but this one obviously is going to need a new motor. Don't think that's going to be going ahead. Customers left on another machine as well, so I'll look at the other machine before giving them a ring, but I would say that's not going to be worth fixing. Not when you can buy a new one for not much more. Plus you'll get a warranty with a new one. Dewalt SDS drill. I see these all the time now. Right, she's running, but is she hammering? Oh no. There we go, that's the problem. She's got a bit stuck inside. He's broken the last bit, and the end of it's still jammed inside the tool holder. So this is an odd one. Don't get these ones too often on the Dewalts. But shouldn't be hard to fix. I can't imagine the tool holder will be damaged or worn out. Let's say it is just a bad bit. Pull off the rubber cap, pull out the C-clip, take off the cover, take out the ball. Once the ball's out, should be nothing holding on the bit. So there's your bit there now. Question is, how tight is it? Not that tight at all. Simple as that. Sometimes if the tool holder's gone, get chewed up or something and get jammed in there, or it's a very, very bad bit. Sometimes they can be too soft, they're not hardened correctly, and they'll actually twist and get chewed up on the keyways. The keyways will be fine because they're hardened steel, but this here will get twisted around and chewed up and jammed solid inside, so there's no way to actually prise it out. Sometimes you will have to just open up the whole machine, take out the whole gearbox, pull out the tool holder and actually dismantle the whole tool holder. Then you'll actually have to dismantle the whole tool holder from the back, pulling out all the C-clips and removing the actual striker and side to get the whole way through from the back to beat this out from the other side. But that's only if it's a very, very cheap, soft bit. Doesn't happen too often. This one should be good to go at that. I'd clean it, but there's not much point. It's going to get dirty again anyway. It's not even all that dirty. Normally you'll see they're all caked in around here. A little bit inside of this, but not too much. Just give that sleeve a bit of a clean. Just there's no grease in that. Dirt and dust won't stick to it as easily. But everything else ain't too bad. Clip that on. Cap over the top. And you're good to go. That's her. One Dewalt SDS drill with a broken bit removed from the tool holder. The DC hitch 273. It's the same for the older model and the newer model as well. It's the exact same tool holder. Dismantle it, it should drop straight out. Right. Next up is a small pillar drill. An Eneger 350 watt drill press. And it looks like the customer's had a little go at this himself. And it's obviously been lying up a long time. Just a wee small cheap bench pillar drill basically. Right, we already know the problem. Can anybody guess what it is? I can nearly guarantee I know what the problem is anyway. Hint, it's got nothing to do with us. I'd imagine this has been bought a long time ago, lying in a shed somewhere, only been used the odd time. He's adjusted something, or he's done something, and now it won't run. And he's went onto the switch to see if he can find the problem. Can anybody guess what it is? Hint. That door's open. If we go into here, there's a safety switch here. I can nearly guarantee you he's opened this here belt cover, changed the speed of the drill, or else changed it before, never closed it, and just went to run it like this, and it won't start up. This here is a safety switch inside. The machine won't run unless this door is closed, obviously for safety reasons. It might not be all his fault either. It's very stiff there. The screw actually gets in the way, jams up on that. Now we don't even have screws to put this in with again. That's not a big problem. We can find some screws. Right. See if it runs. What would be wrong with that? It's not a quick spot. That's quite common. See that all the time with machines with a safety cover door or the safety switch like that there. Boys get lazy, they don't want to open or closing it every single time, so they just leave it like this. But when it's like that, it will not switch on. This is a kill switch inside. I can see why he didn't want to constantly be closing it. This is very difficult to do that. That's it. Nothing actually wrong with it. We just get a couple of screws to re-secure this back on again. Now, the only reason I'm able to spot that problem so quick is from knowing the machine and knowing the user. This is only a wee cheap and cheerful machine. It's not going to be bought by a tradesperson basically, more than likely. Just somebody at home doing the odd wee project. That's what it's for. That's why you buy these things. Somebody's not going to be using it all the time, maybe once or twice a year. That's all the use it's ever going to get. And with the way it's sitting, that looks like that's all the use it is getting. So it's a cheap machine, been used by somebody who probably doesn't understand it. It was a tradesman, they'd probably understand that cover. Somebody at home generally doesn't. And it's just a thing that I've seen enough times before to now know to look for straight away. So, not a thing wrong with that. Generally, they're never getting enough use to actually have many problems. And they're also just never that good a machine. And for small things, nothing wrong with chucks, not even rusted up or anything. Good for small jobs, but nothing major. I'll show you why. You just stop it with your hand. There's no real power on them. Good for wee small things. All bits of steel, but nothing major. That's her. Okay, next up, compressor. Now, I'm only throwing this into the video just to highlight this one wee simple fix that you get all the time with compressors. Now, the customer looks to have been looking at this already. He's had the fuse opened up, he must have checked that. At least I take it. The fuse is good. Yeah. So she's off. Plug her in. Switch her on. Nothing. What's wrong? Now, you aren't going to believe how silly this is, but I get this all the time. This is the other side of your compressor, especially these Draper compressors. Happens all the time with these here because there's no indications on it. This isn't to say this thing has barely been used. It's obviously getting a lot of use. It's quite a few years old. But obviously this man's never had to do this before. So it's still switched off. If you come around to the side here, see this little boy? This is a little fuse, or a wee trip. If the motor's running too much or gets under heavy load, draws too much current, this pops, stops the machine. Now, she's cured. That catches so many people out, it's just not even funny. Normally they have some sort of sticker on the side here to say trip and here and an arrow. This one doesn't. Some of them are even worse. Some of them are way inside, buried. You can barely even see it. You have to stick your hand in to actually get to it. If your compressor's running and all of a sudden stops for no reason at all, check that little trip. If that's pushed out, push it on, that'll get it running again. But obviously, whatever you're doing to trip it, try not to do any more. See what's actually happened. There's the oil. This little window here. That's for checking your oil level. Normally, you're meant to have it just halfway between this little red dot, this little red circle. That's the amount of oil you need. It's got oil in it, by the looks of it. He's got too much oil on it. So I'd say that might be the problem. When it's under load trying to get running again, the extra oil in this is making it too hard, making it draw too much current, popping that fuse. So I'll empty some of this out. Yeah, way too much in there. No harm in just changing it out anyway, because this thing's obviously done quite a bit of work already. You can see a difference. That's where that level's meant to be. It's not meant to have all that in it. Twist your bung. And that should now run an awful lot better. That's it. That'll do the job. Now, something different. This is a key cutting machine. A Rekord Plus key cutter. And she's not working, or at least not working right. This thing, unlike a standard power tool, is quite hefty. Solid cast steel frame in it. Weighs a ton. Right, let's see what she's doing. So we can hear this switch down here. If you switch on for this arm, the motor will start spinning whenever you lift this arm up. So this is just a power on and off switch. That's it on. I'm only getting a wee kick. Might be the switch down here. If I lift it up slowly, it does nothing. Not even a click. I lift it up quick. It does run. Right, let's get a wee look. It's a fairly simple machine. Motor here, driving a couple of pulleys onto this little spindle. You've got the blade here for actually cutting the keys. Then you've got a wire wheel end for actually cleaning up, taking off the burr. And this here is just a clamp and the guide. That's it. Fairly simple. There's probably a wee light on the switch as well, but that's not working. But there's still power getting through. I will check the switch first. Which is here. That could even be the problem there. The wee spade connector is a little bit burnt. And it's burnt that connection too. Feels like it's working. Yeah, something not right there. I would say that is the problem. But where am I going to get one of those? Right, try fix it first. Yeah, there's something going on there. A little micro switch, and the little contact here is actually burnt. So maybe a bit of a clean. We'll get it running again temporarily at least. While I figure out where the hell to get one of these switches. Right, so that's cover that actually holds up this lever, only lets it down so far. Take the cover away, she opens fully. So this is normally in the open position. Switched off whenever this handle comes down and engages the switch. Much better. Just give them a wee clean, bent up this wee leg a little bit to give it better contact. That'll do for now. That'll get us out of bother and running again. We have time now to get on a new switch. The connector's not as badly burnt as I thought, it's only a little tiny bit. Just in case, we'll just tighten it up a little smidge. See if that makes any difference. Look at that. That's all it is. One switch. Make sure she's enough power now. Spot on. On Rekord Plus key cutting machine. Running for a bit longer. But eventually I'll have to change that switch if I can get one. Just tidy up that lid as well. It's better. That's her. Ready to cut keys.